All right. So this one's a little weird. I'm putting this out to the VTuber Nuxanor because this is something that I want to clear up because I keep thinking like, well, people have traced that down. The internet knows that, and then I'll realize, wait, no, younger people might not have happened upon like the long number of podcasts and stuff that go through the history of it. I got all the source books that get into this and stuff. The memoirs of Reinhard Gehlen, The Service. That was the intelligence officer for the Third Reich, Eastern Front, and so you get to hear all this stuff about in his memoirs about Ukraine. And then he gets into the whole thing about the Nazi Muslims. Then there's the guy who did the Nazi hunting, John Loftus, with America's Nazi Secret, his interviews with people like Alex Jones, and a really funny guy, Charney, Leon Charney. Highly recommend if you could find any of those old episodes of John Loftus and Leon Charney, because Charney obviously was a spooky dude at some point. And so he just, this way he talks is just, and there's this weird smile. He has this constant smile on his face, this little grin, and it's just really funny. There's just something about him he's just such a character. But these were great episodes where it got into first, whereas the Belarus Brigade got into then, when stuff got declassified, he was able to talk about what he had found and reported to Congress in the 1980s about how the United States government had gone way out of its way to hide political Nazis, not rocket scientists, like the governments of various countries, and their people were distributed throughout the English-speaking world. So, and it looks like they worked inside the government. They got jobs inside the government, because John Loftus in one of the interviews gets all the way down to, this general, remember this guy from Iraq? His dad. He didn't know. This general had no idea what the deal was with his dad getting into the United States or any that. He had no idea. Because the information was, whoa, hello. Boy, this guy's having fun. On his motorcycle, just whipping around. Whoa. Okay. There you go. He's having fun this morning. Anyway. So one of the things I wanted to touch on is the thing that gets brought up by everybody is the Muslim Nazis. At the end of it all, they keep bringing in. So once you start looking into this, one of the only people who's talked about this is a guy named David Livingstone, and he started once a thing, Conspiracy School. But he gets into, no, this kind of ideology was really popular, and it was because all these wealthy powers of the Middle East were inviting German engineers in the early 1900s and late 1800s to do a lot of engineering for especially this thing that we call the Orient Express. So what you end up getting is German writers and thinkers influencing the wealthiest Muslim princes and sheikhs' sons and things like that in the early 1900s. And this is just kind of a forgotten part of history. This is why there's a relationship between Turkey and Germany. And there's so many Turks in Germany, is because this is a relationship that goes back to the late 1800s. Because of the shipping corridors that you got to get through Turkey and Persia. And so now the deal is this. People who know because they traced like the way this kind of philosophy went But David Livingstone really just nailed it. I mean, he really goes into all the details. And no, Hezbollah and Hamas, PLO, all these organizations, the reason they don't like Jews is because they're descended from Islamic Nazism, or that milieu of thinking. Saddam was kind of in that milieu, with just an authoritarian leader, but he's sectarian. No such thing exists in Islam, a sectarian leader. No, this was a type of thinking introduced by how much various wealthy powers in the Islamic world were fond of authoritarian socialist ideas. And that's why you get these countries like where people would now, even we talk about sort of Iraq differently, but we're not thinking of it as, no, it was an authoritarian socialist state of sorts, keeping everybody in line under big leader, descended from German ideology. And and so that was the kind of compromises made. Just something I think you should think about. All right, later.